Good morning, everyone. What's the day? The 11th? Okay. How's everyone doing out there? I hope everyone is blessed. I hope everyone is favored. I hope everyone is doing well this wonderful morning. I'm up at the wee hours, y'all. I'm up at the wee hours. But I have a Bible study thing that I want to do, and it really resonated with me and touched bases with me, touched me in my heart. And it's James 2, verses 14 through 26. And I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to go back and follow through on expound on it. It said, "What doeth it profit, my brethren, though a man says he have faith and have not works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, Depart in peace, but be ye warned and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doeth it profit? Even so faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone. Yea, a man say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. Thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered Isaac his son upon the altar? Seest thou how faith wrought with works, and by works was faith made perfect? The scripture was fulfilled which said, Abraham believed God, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of God. You see then how by works a man is justified, but not by faith only. Likewise, also was not Rahab the harlot justified by works when he said, let me repeat 25. Likewise, also was not Rahab the harlot justified by works when she had received the messengers and sent them out another way. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. Okay, we as Christians and believers and the such or the like always say faith without works is dead. But when I was reading the scripture and reading these verses, they came alive to me because I have to go back to Abraham. Abraham was promised by God that he would have descendants as many as multitudes in the stars, but his promise was with Isaac, you know. So, with that being said, God tested Abraham's integrity. He tested Abraham to see if he believed that he was God of all gods, King of kings. So he tested him by telling Abraham that I want you to go and sacrifice your son, by testing him um, on the altar. So in the doing of it all, in the doing, um, Abraham got his son Isaac, got the supplies that he needed, and built an altar. When he built the altar, his son asked what was going to be the sacrifice, you know. And in the doing, Abraham proceeded to put his son on the altar. You know, he didn't want to tell him outright, but Isaac, you are the sacrifice, implied. But when God saw the faithfulness and how Abraham believed and what he said, even though he didn't know how he was gonna be a descendant, he didn't know how this was gonna turn out, but he trusted God. He trusted the process. He trusted what God said about him and what he was gonna do for him. And he proceeded to be obedient. And there was a animal, I guess a lamb, a sacrifice that God had put in, and it got caught up in thistles and thorns and stuff. And he was able to use that as a sacrifice for the Lord instead of his own son. Because God saw how intent, how for real that Abraham was and being obedient to his word and being obedient to what God said. Even though he didn't know how it was going to turn out in the end, he trusted God in the process of it. So, with that being said, you know, faith, you can't have just faith alone. You got to work that thing out. Um, it says in the word that be wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead. If you got a bunch of faith and you ain't working it out, then what good is that? You know, and this goes on to say how Abraham, because Abraham believed and trusted God and had a relationship and rapport with God for so much and for so long, he was known as the friend of God. So he believed. He didn't know. He didn't see the way. He didn't know how it was going to turn out. He was just going to be obedient and trust God through the process. And that's what we have to do as believers. We have to trust God in the process. Even when we're going through, even though we don't know how things are going to turn out, even though we might say, Lord, you told me one thing, but I'm going through this. How is this going to pan out? It ain't for us to know. It's just for us to obey and be obedient. And God will work that thing out for our good in the process of it all. So even when Rahab, when I want to say this right, when Rahab the harlot, when Joshua was marching, and I pray I'm saying this right, when Joshua was marching around Jericho to declare Jericho as theirs, and being obedient to God, they were going to declare, victory over the city. And they used Rahab to, get the messages in to see how the city was and stuff. And Rahab believed because she knew that the Israelites were the true people of God. So she believed, because she believed, she helped those messengers into her home and let them scout it out and to help them to escape, and her family escaped because she believed. So when Jericho went down, her family and her I'm saying this so ghetto, but forgive me, herself and her family were saved. And in so doing, she was a descendant of Jesus. So all these things play out. All these things fall in alignment with the purpose and the plan that God has for us. They all play out and they pan out. We don't know how they're going to work out, but we know that it is. So I'm praying for you guys just to understand that faith without works is dead. You got to work this thing as well as believe in what the Lord is doing and what he says. Thank you and have a blessed day.